All right, you degenerates, welcome back to the deep dive. You know, the drill, we dig into some seriously fucked up shit, and today's no different. We're talking about the broccoli haircut.
The broccoli hair.
Yeah, you heard right, that short on the sides, curly on top monstrosity that makes every dude look like a goddamn vegetable.
Right.
This shit blew up on TikTok, got memed to hell and back, and even pissed off some folks. So to help us dissect this follicular fiasco, we've got a real expert in the house.
Happy to be here.
All right, let's cut the crap and dive right in. So, seriously, how the hell did this broccoli thing become a thing? You'd think people would have better taste?
Well,
I guess not.
yeah, well, the broccoli cut, as ridiculous as it may seem, actually has roots in some pretty unexpected places.
Oh.
We're talking 1980s new romantic fashion. Think big hair puffy shirts and synth pop galore.
Really?
And even K-pop boy bands, those perfectly coiffed heartthrobs.
Hold up, are you telling me those new romantic dudes with the eyeliner and synthesizers were rockin' broccoli heads? Seriously?
It's not a direct lineage, but there are definite similarities. The emphasis on volume, the textured curls, it all points to a shared aesthetic sensibility. And then you have K-pop, where elaborate hairstyles have always been a huge part of the visual appeal. So the seeds were planted, so to speak. But things get really interesting when we look at how this style went from niche to full-blown TikTok trend.
All right, so we've got 80s new wave and K-pop in the mix. But how did this go from a few weirdos to millions of kids on TikTok rocking the same fucked up hairstyle? Was there like some broccoli hair prophet we need to thank?
Not quite a prophet, more like a perfect storm of internet culture and teenage boredom. The real turning point was around 2018 in the UK. Remember that Meet Me at McDonald's haircut?
Meet me at McDonald's.
It was basically an early prototype of the broccoli cut.
What kind of a ridiculous name is that for a haircut? Were they getting styling tips from Ronald McDonald himself?
Apparently it was popular with kids who'd hang out at McDonald's after school. But get this, some schools actually banned the haircut.
Why?
They thought it was too extreme.
You've got to be kidding me. Those poor, oppressed broccoli heads, banned from the hallowed halls of McDonald's? What do? Whip their curls around and cause mass hysteria.
Right, but the ban actually backfired and gave the haircut more publicity. Fast forward to 2020 and 2021, and it explodes on TikTok. Guys like Noah Beck and Bryce Hall were rocking the look, and millions of kids were trying to copy them.
So from banned in British schools to TikTok famous, that's a hell of a journey for a haircut. But I've got to ask, how much of this was organic and how much was, manufactured hype? Like, did TikTok's algorithm have anything to do with it?
That's a great question. The algorithm definitely plays a role in what goes viral on TikTok. But I think there was something about the broccoli cut itself that resonated with a particular segment of Gen Z.
Okay, let's unpack that. What was it about this specific haircut that made it so damn appealing to Gen Z? Was it just about fitting in, or was there something deeper going on?
I think it was a combination of factors. On a surface level, it was trendy, it was different, and it had this rebellious edge to it. But I think it also tapped into a certain anxiety about masculinity that's prevalent among Gen Z guys.
All right, hold up. You're saying this ridiculous haircut is somehow connected to masculinity. Explain that shit to me.
Think about it. The broccoli cut is this weird, almost androgynous style. It's not the traditional short back and sides that's been associated with masculinity for decades. It's softer, it's more textured, and it requires a certain level of confidence to pull off.
So are you saying these Gen Z dudes were trying to redefine masculinity with this haircut? Were they like, screw the old rules, we're going to express ourselves however the fuck we want, even if it means looking like a walking vegetable?
I wouldn't go that far. But I think there's definitely a sense of pushing boundaries and challenging traditional norms at play here.
Interesting. So we've got this weird collision of 80s nostalgia, K-pop aesthetics, teenage rebellion, and maybe even some deep-seated anxieties about masculinity. That's a lot to unpack for a haircut.
It is, isn't it? But the story gets even wilder when you consider how the broccoli cut went from TikTok darling to internet meme.
Ah, yes. The memification of the broccoli cut. That's where things get really interesting. I'm guessing our friends at 4chan had something to do with this.
Oh, absolutely. 4chan, never one to miss an opportunity for trolling, dubbed the broccoli cut the Zoomer perm, and turned it into the symbol of everything they supposedly hate about Gen Z.
Zoomer perm. That's fucking brilliant. Did you ever rock one, by the way? Don't worry, I won't judge much.
I'll plead the fifth on that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Zoomer perm label really took off, and the haircut became associated with all sorts of negative stereotypes like fuckboys, gym bros, and basically any dude who takes himself way too seriously.
So it's not just a haircut anymore. It's a cultural symbol, a meme, a lightning rod for all sorts of anxieties about masculinity, generational divides, and the internet's ability to turn anything into a joke. This is some deep shit, man.
It is, and it gets even deeper when we start looking at the specific ways the broccoli cut was mocked and the cultural anxieties it exposed.
All right, I'm ready for more. Hit me with the good stuff. What were the most common criticisms of the broccoli cut, and what do they tell us about the cultural landscape at the time?
Well, aside from the obvious, it looks like a vegetable jokes, there were a lot of criticisms about the broccoli cut being try-hard, unoriginal, and a desperate attempt to stand out.
So basically, people were pissed off because they thought these Gen Z kids were trying too hard to be unique, but ended up looking like a bunch of clones. That's pretty ironic.
Exactly. And it speaks to this larger anxiety about authenticity in the age of social media. Everyone's trying to be an individual, but they're all using the same tools and following the same trends.
It's like they're all trying to stand out in a crowd by wearing the same uniform. That's pretty fucked up.
Oh,
But it gets even more fucked up when you consider the David Corenswet Superman situation.
well, absolutely. When photos of Corenswet in the new Superman suit with his broccoli-adjacent hairstyle were released, the internet went absolutely ballistic.
Seriously, people were losing their minds over a haircut in a superhero movie.
Yeah.
What the hell is wrong with people?
Well, Superman is kind of a big deal. He's supposed to represent the ideal man, the epitome of strength, masculinity, and all that jazz. So seeing him with this haircut that's been associated with all these negative stereotypes was apparently too much for some people to handle.
So it's not just about hair. It's about cultural expectations, anxieties about masculinity, and the internet's obsession with tearing down anything that doesn't fit into their narrow worldview.
You hit the nail on the head.
This is some heavy shit for a haircut. But we're just getting started, folks. We've got a lot more ground to cover in this deep dive, so buckle up and get ready for more broccoli-fueled insanity.
You know, it's funny how this seemingly simple haircut managed to piss so many people off.
Yeah, it's like people were genuinely offended by the sight of a little extra curl. What's up with that? Was it just a Gen Z thing, or did older folks get in on the hate too? Like, did these boomers even know what TikTok was?
It was definitely a generational thing, at least initially. A lot of the mockery came from older millennials and Gen Xers who saw the broccoli cut as this symbol of everything they disliked about Gen Z. You know, the whole avocado toast, participation, pro-feast stereotype.
So basically, they were just jealous that they couldn't pull off the look. Let's be real. Those receding hairlines wouldn't exactly rock a broccoli cut.
Huh. Maybe there's some truth to that. But I think it was more about this perceived sense of entitlement narcissism and lack of originality that some people associate with Gen Z. The broccoli cut became this shorthand for, look at these kids trying too hard to be different, but ending up looking all the same.
It's like they were all trying to be special snowflakes, but they were all using the same goddamn snowflake mold. So where does that leave us? Are we all doomed to repeat the same fashion cycles forever? Are we all just puppets of the internet trend machine?
It's hard to say fashion is cyclical, that's for sure. What's old is new again and all that. But the internet has definitely accelerated the pace of these cycles. Trends come and go faster than ever before, and it's hard to keep up.
Yeah, it's like a fashion tornado sucking up everything in its path and spitting it back out in a slightly different form. But hey, maybe that's what keeps things interesting, keeps us on our toes. Speaking of interesting, you mentioned something earlier about the Meet Me at McDonald's haircut ban. That sounds like a whole can of worms I'm ready to crack open.
Oh yeah, that's a wild story. It perfectly captures the absurdity of this whole broccoli hair saga.
All right, hit me with it. What the hell happened? Did the Queen herself decree that broccoli heads were a threat to national security?
Not quite. It was actually a local high school in Great Yarmouth, England, that decided to crack down on the trend in 2018. They claimed it was distracting and disruptive to the learning environment.
Disruptive. It's a haircut, not a goddamn riot. What were these kids doing, whipping their curls around and causing mass chaos?
You'd think so from the reaction. The school actually sent letters home to parents warning them that students with the haircut would be sent home or placed in isolation. They even compared it to other banned items like hoodies and piercings. Seriously. They put broccoli hair in the same category as gang symbols and face tattoos. That's some next-level authoritarian bullshit. What were they so afraid of? A little bit of individuality.
It's almost comical. But here's the kicker. The ban totally backfired. It became national news, and suddenly everyone was talking about the Meet Me at McDonald's haircut.
Yeah.
It was like free publicity for a trend that might have otherwise fizzled out.
Classic Streisand effect. Try to suppress something, and it only makes it more popular. Those school administrators must have been pissed. They probably ended up with a whole school full of broccoli heads.
I'm sure they weren't thrilled, but it just goes to show you can't control everything. especially when it comes to teenagers and their hair choices.
You know what's really interesting about all this? It's not just about the haircut itself. It's about the reactions it provoked. The anger, the mockery, the attempts to control it. It's like the broccoli cut exposed some deep-seated anxieties in our culture. Anxieties about youth, about change, about masculinity. It's pretty deep stuff when you think about it. I completely agree. It's a reminder that fashion is never just about clothes or hairstyles. It's about identity culture and the way we see ourselves and others.
Damn straight. So what do you think the future holds for the broccoli cut? Is it gone for good, or could we see a comeback? I mean, bell-bottoms came back, so anything is possible, right?
It's hard to predict these things. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see some variation of the broccoli cut pop up again in a few years. Maybe with a different name or a slightly tweaked style.
Maybe we'll call it the cauliflower cut or the asparagus perm. The possibilities are endless.
Exactly. The key takeaway here is that trends are cyclical. What was once considered ridiculous or outdated can suddenly become cool again. It's all about context and interpretation.
You know what else is interesting? We haven't really talked about the female perspective on all this. Did girls even like the broccoli cut? Or was it purely a dude thing?
That's a great point. I think the reaction from women was pretty mixed. Some found it attractive on certain guys, while others thought it was a total turnoff.
I guess it all comes down to personal preference. But I'm curious to hear what our female listeners have to say.
Yeah.
Did any of you ladies ever date a broccoli head? Was it a yay or a nay? Hit us up in the comments.
Yeah, let's get some female perspectives on this. After all, this whole broccoli hair phenomenon wasn't just about dudes, it was about the culture at large.
All right, folks, that's it for part 2 of our deep dive into the wacky world of the broccoli haircut. We've covered a lot of ground, but we're not done yet. Stay tuned for part 3, where we'll explore some even crazier aspects of this follicular fiasco. It's going to be wild. Trust me.
It's wild how this broccoli hair thing wasn't just some dumb Western trend.
Oh,
yeah, it popped up in other parts of the world, too.
Wait, are you telling me there were broccoli heads roaming the streets of, like, Tokyo and Rio? I thought this shit was confined to the land of TikTok and McDonald's.
Nope. This trend went global. It was huge in South Korea, for example. K-pop stars were rocking variations of the broccoli cut, and fans were going crazy for it.
Yeah. Okay, that actually makes sense. K-pop is all about pushing boundaries with style and aesthetics. It's like a breeding ground for weird and wonderful hairstyles. But I'm curious, did the broccoli cut have the same, like, cultural baggage in other countries? Was it associated with the same stereotypes and anxieties that we saw in the West?
It's hard to say for sure. Different cultures interpret trends in different ways, but I think there were definitely some common threads, like the idea of the broccoli cut as a symbol of youth rebellion, the clash between tradition and modernity, that kind of thing.
So it's not just about hair. It's about, like, broader cultural shifts happening all over the world. It's about young people trying to find their place in a rapidly changing world. It's about, damn, this is getting deep.
It is, isn't it? And it's a reminder that even something as seemingly trivial as a haircut can be a window into the complex social and cultural forces shaping our world.
Okay, let's bring it back to the hair for a second.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that the broccoli cut might be making a comeback, but what about all the hate it got? Do you think people are ready to embrace it again?
Honestly, I have no idea. Fashion is unpredictable, and what's considered cool one day can be cringeworthy the next. It's all about timing and context. But if there's one thing we've learned from this deep dive, it's that the broccoli cut is more than just a haircut. It's a cultural phenomenon, a meme, a symbol of our times. And who knows, maybe it's time for a broccoli renaissance.
Maybe we'll see a whole new generation of broccoli heads strutting their stuff. They can even have their own anthem. We're the broccoli generation, and we're here to stay.
I wouldn't be surprised if that actually happened.
All right, folks, that's a wrap on our deep dive into the wild world of the broccoli haircut. We've covered a lot of ground, from its origins in 80s fashion to its memification on 4chan to its unexpected connection to global cultural trends. It's been a hell of a ride. So what's the big takeaway here? I think it's this. Don't underestimate the power of a haircut. It can be a symbol of rebellion, a source of anxiety, a catalyst for cultural change, and a whole lot of laughs. And who knows, maybe one day we'll all be looking back on the broccoli cut with nostalgia, wondering why the hell we ever made fun of it in the first place. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and if you see a broccoli head out in the wild, give them a nod of respect. They're part of history now. Peace out.